To whom much is given, much is required. Part of that requirement is sharing. Culture is the heartbeat within our lives, and it's at the core of so many things. While we live in a time when we are starving for wisdom, I welcome you to your wisdom retreat at Culture Raises Us. Wow. Well, this individual today, our guest, very, very special, has shown up in my life in so many different ways and continues to be a member of what I call family. Bevy Smith, for those of you who don't know her, is a multitude of things, to say the least. She's a TV and radio host, personality. She was a creator of Dinner with Bevy, and is a very, very prominent voice within the fashion industry. And before I have you give everyone a much deeper look into who you are, we always start these sessions off with the key question, and it is, when you hear culture, what does that mean to you?
Well, I love you, Astor. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm so happy that you're doing this. This is exactly what you should be doing. You have always been a light. You have always been a beacon. You've always been a man who, when you speak, people listen. And so this is a very, very, this is very right in the path that you're supposed to be on. The trajectory is genius. So I just wanted to give you your flowers before I go into what is culture to me. Whenever I hear the word culture, I automatically think about Black culture, because my whole everything I look at is through a prism of Blackness, and always has been. You know, you and I met. Well, we became really close when we both worked at Vibe magazine, and I was working as a fashion and beauty advertising director, and I really handled all European fashion. So most of my clients, well, all my clients were white, and most of them were based in Europe. But still in all, everything I did with them was still seen through a prism of Black culture. That's how Black I am. Even when I'm in Europe, in the upper echelons of fashion where it's all white, I'm still working and delivering my message through the prism of Black culture. And that has a lot to do with where I'm from. You know, I'm from the hamlet of Harlem, born and raised. And, you know, I just love that I go outside my door and I live right off Frederick Douglass Boulevard, right? You know, there's Marcus Garvey is down the block. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Boulevard is 2 blocks away. Malcolm X Boulevard is 3 blocks away. So Black culture is the alpha and the omega in my life. And it's lovely that I've been able to make a living being Black and sharing my Black experience with others.
You know, it's incredible, your definition, when you talk about this is the alpha and omega of who you are. As you answered the question, you seamlessly went into giving line of sight to who you are, which goes to show just how much this plays a role. This culture and the essence of it is exactly who you are. Like, that was unsolicited. I was going to ask you to share a little bit more about who you were, but it just naturally transitioned right into that, which again shows you how organic, one, that is, but then two, just how much culture not only plays in your life, but guess what? That is very symbolic of that, of how much it plays in everyone's life, the different type of cultures. But I love how rich and how quickly you went into that in a very organic, way. And, there's very few people in my life that I feel exemplify this art of living life for a living. And you're actually one of them. And I've seen this in your spirit since the first day I met you, as you were kind of alluding to in our early work days that we're going to talk about. And I've watched it flourish literally over the years. And the seed that you've watered of what I call evolution has been beyond a joy to watch with your constant maturation. And it's also kind of been such a blessing to have others, witness and be inspired by you. For your mantra now to be, it gets greater later, it is a total reflection of you continuing to break these norms and these programmings that many believe, windows and opportunities no longer become available to you because of your age, right?
Yeah.
When did this notion really hit you and made you lock into what I feel is a major part of your purpose?
Thank you. And yes, and I just found out it was my purpose, Astor. I
Wow.
literally just found out it gets greater later was my purpose. I think I found out in like February. So
No, no, whoa, 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 whoa. No, no, no way. No way.
yeah, no, really. It was, I mean, it was my mantra,
Right.
but I didn't know it was my purpose.
Talk about that. Okay, go.
So, I mean, I just, it was crazy because, I'm like, I've been saying it gets greater later. Actually, it happened when I was on the precipice of quitting my job at Rolling Stone magazine to go into this life that used to be my new life, which is now just my life. This life as Bevy Smith, TV, radio, public
All the
speaking
things.
personality, all the
Yeah.
things. But, when I was 38 years old, I was about to quit Rolling Stone. So I was I was filled with discontent probably from 33 to 38, just didn't know what I wanted to do, and didn't know how to even voice it,
Right.
did not know how to own it. So I sat and stewed. And then at like 37, I leave Vibe and go to Rolling Stone. And it is there that I'm like, I have to believe it gets greater later because I'm about to quit this very well-paying job and this very prestigious job to try to do something which is really a young person's game. You can age in TV. We see older people in TV all the time, but you don't really see people start television careers in their late 30s, which is what I've endeavored to do. And I actually did not really get a full grasp on my television career until I was 45. So
About
if
that.
I don't know that it gets greater later, if that's not my mantra, if that's not my, throat lozenger that I'm sucking on the entire time that I'm
Yeah.
going through trials and tribulations, then I give up. Because why wouldn't you? Like, you're broke and you're trying to do something that really you've not seen anyone do before. So why wouldn't I give up? Well, I didn't give up because it gets greater later was in my spirit. It was something that I really, I clung to it. And it was my salvation. And it
Mm.
became my belief system.
Mm.
But shockingly enough, I did not know it was my purpose until February of 2023.
And which is so crazy, but not really crazy. I think to your point, your journey had you lock into believing it, and then it evolved into you realizing, oh, this is my purpose to help lead a larger group of people to understand it. That part.
That
You-
part.
But that's really how God uses all of us as vessels of purpose, right? I think we all have to go through a thing or things to then come through them and be an example of them, right? Because I've said this before, it's so easy to talk about being an example or something being possible, but it's really the real work and the secret sauce comes in going through it and then showing and being the example of being able to people to see, oh, but you actually did this. You
Yeah.
actually went through this, and look at you now.
Because otherwise, folks don't really want to hear it. It's the
Facts.
reason why I won't. I always want to like get on the internet and talk about love relationships and things like that, but I'm single. So I'm like, don't nobody want to hear from the single person about love relationships. But I know I have some really good ideas about it.
Uh-huh.
And
Right.
I think I do know a secret sauce component to having a lasting, loving relationship. But I'm not in one. So people would be like, well, you talking, but you ain't in one. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to hush my mouth until I get my man.
Right.
And then I'll come out and tell the people.
But now, do you remember us having a very real conversation years ago when you were in a moment of like, Astor, I don't have a significant other. I'm feeling away. I said, well, Bevy, selfishly, please, which the relationships and the love that you give all of us is kind of what I feel is your purpose, selfishly. So please don't come down on yourself for not being in a relationship, because you're giving and hopefully receiving a tremendous amount of love. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I do. And you're right. I do. And you know what? And I will tell you this, Aster. Now on this side of things, I understand that also the love that I receive from my friends and my family and that I give is also a teaching mechanism for me for when I do connect with that special man.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, everyone always talks about not settling.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, when you've been loved the way I've been loved in so many different iterations, from my beloved father, Smitty, to, you know, of course, my entire family, and then to family like you and so many other of our mutual friends, why I can't settle. I
No.
can't be with someone who's not going to make me feel the joy, the love, and the respect that I feel when I'm with my friends and family. So I've got to wait.
Yeah, and the love that you give. You see, you kept talking about the love that you're getting, but you are one of the most giving people that I've ever met in terms of love, energy, affection, time. And you know, I remember it like it was yesterday, and you were talking about it a little bit, our Vibe days, and you working, like you said, on this high-end fashion business. And more than anyone, you definitely saw, and it was inspiring to me, how Black culture was often appropriated or even used to inspire and fuel these businesses. Like you called it out immediately, and you fought for a different type of acknowledgement and ownership then by making sure they advertised in the spaces that they were benefiting from.
Yeah.
Right? What does that look like today, though, in terms of the importance of Black ownership and recognition of what the Black community has brought to not only this country, but really the world?
Oh, well, it's definitely a global conversation, right? I think for me now, what I do is much the same of what I did before. But I have an even larger platform. So I call it out, you know, whether it's me being, I'll never forget when the Me Too movement happened. I was on Page Six TV, which was a nationally syndicated TV show. So that means millions of people watch.
Mm-hmm.
And we were having the conversation, and everyone initially thought it was Alyssa, forget her last name, from Who's the Boss, the actress. They all thought that she was the creator of the Me Too movement. Well, I happen to know that it was a Black woman, Tarana Burke, who created that. So I'm in my morning meeting, and they're like, oh, yeah, what's her name? It's going to drive me crazy. But they were like, oh, yeah, we have to talk about Alyssa, blah, 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 and the Me Too movement. I was like, well, here's the thing. That's appropriated from a Black woman in the Bronx who's been doing this work for over a decade. And it's really about saving young Black women who have gone through sexual assault trauma. And so I was able to say her name to a national audience. Same thing happened when Alice Johnson, was released out of jail. And Kim Kardashian went to the White House to meet with Trump. And everybody was like, okay, and so we'll talk about the work that Kim Kardashian did to get Alice Johnson out of jail. I said, well, actually, my friend Topeka Sam is actually at the White House with Kim Kardashian, and she's been doing the work on behalf of getting Alice Johnson out of jail for several years before Kim ever got into the conversation. So we'll say her name on national TV too. So those are the ways in which, you know, you can utilize your power, your platform, your voice. And it's about, you know, not being afraid. Like one of the greatest things I think about where I was born and raised in Harlem is that I instantly understood how important Black culture was to the world. And I come from a place that no matter where you go in the world, you say Harlem, people know what you're talking about.
That's right.
Now, they may have a negative perception of it.
Yep.
They may have a positive perception of it, but no one's going to be like, oh, really? Well, where's that from? And then,
Right.
you know what I mean? Where's that? You know, and so when you walk with that kind of knowledge of self and of where you're from, your cultural legacy, then you become very clear, and then you're not afraid. I'll tell you this part really quick. When I went to work, the first time I ever worked in fashion was as a receptionist at an advertising agency that handled all kinds of luxury fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our accounts was Brooke Shields, and Brooke Shields and I are the same age. So Brooke would come in with her mom to do business. But I was like 18, 19 years old, Brooke's same age.
Right.
So she doesn't want to go into the conference room and have this meeting there. She would sit out in the reception area with me. Her mom would go and do the business, and we would talk like young girls, like, because we were both young girls. When we were young girls who had jobs. Now, obviously, her job was far more glamorous and well-paying than mine, but my job was cute, too. I was a receptionist. Right. I was greeting all the celebrities and everything. It was amazing.
That's right.
But, I never looked at Brooke Shields or any of the other supermodels who came through those doors and thought, why can't I look like them? Why can't I be thin and white and blonde or brunette with blue eyes? Never. Because of where I was from, I was so clear that their beauty is their beauty. It has nothing to do with mine. And also, not for nothing, where I'm from, they can walk down the street and ain't nobody gonna pay them no mind. Ain't nobody checking for that.
Right, not at all.
But where I'm from, when I come outside,
when you come outside, listen. It's go time. It's go time.
Go time.
And your spirit is just a continuation of it. But go ahead.
Right. So, it's just that kind of knowledge of self allowed me always to be outspoken. And as you know, I used to give him Elliot vibe.
Absolutely.
You know that. I used to give him Elliot vibe because, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. And there's a lot of people that work in the culture that's not really for the culture.
Wow. Repeat that one more time, please.
There's a lot of people that work in the culture that ain't really for the culture.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And you know it better than most because you've been in the belly of many beasts.
Many.
Many of the machines.
To say absolute least.
Yeah. So
And as I hear you talking about your early, days within fashion, and I look at, fashion obviously plays, I think, a significant role in shaping culture as we know it today. And with all the brands and the talent and the companies you've worked with over the years, was there a particular moment where you realized just how big and instrumental this fashion culture was to overall culture in general? I call it the intersection. Like, when for Bevy was it you were like, oh no, this fashion thing it could move mountains. It's moving everything.
That's an interesting question. I hate to keep harping on Harlem.
No,
as you know, Asa, coming from the Upper West Side, which is like literally you grew up 5 blocks from Harlem, so you were Harlem adjacent.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I mean? But one of the biggest legacies of Harlem is that we're really fly.
Absolutely.
We gonna wear some clothes.
Absolutely.
We gonna show up and show out. When we come through, you gonna see the peacock.
All the time.
So when you look at like an A$AP Rocky and you think he's fly, that's not a mistake. When you see Cameron now hits a whole pink ensemble, including the pink flip phone, being in the Blacksonian, that's not a mistake. You know what I mean? That's and so when you look at the accolades that our beloved Dapper Dan has received now, finally, that's not a mistake. So I think I always understood the power of fashion. I just didn't understand the monetization of the power of fashion as it pertains to us, Black people, until I got into the business of fashion. And then I was like, oh.
Right. What's going on here?
Yeah, what's going on here? And then I began to really understand it and began to crack the code.
And how do we crack the code?
Well, one, we have to know our value. We have to know our worth.
1,000%.
And we have to stop being so excited to be invited to the party.
Stop being so excited to be invited to the party.
Yeah. Like, it's great. I'm invited to the party, but like we can't like act like that's the end all and be all. There's a lot of other things that need to go into it before we can accept the invitation. I'll give you a perfect example.
Please, because this is such a gem.
Met Gala 2019. Dak calls me up and invites me. I'm like, Dak, I love you down to the ground. It would be my honor to go. But there's a couple of things. Because this is when he still had his collaboration with Gucci. And this is when Gucci is in hot water. Still.
Right.
Because, you know, we put them on a timeout.
Yeah, had to.
Had to. So I said, you know, I don't want to wear anything Gucci insignia, no Gucci, no nothing, no not a B. You know, they have all the little symbols.
Yeah, absolutely.
Insignias. I'm like, I don't want any of that. And I want a black woman to design my gown. I said, I want you to design my cape, but I want a black woman to design my gown. And he said, whatever you like, my queen. And that was the end of the conversation. So I go to the Met Gala, and every single thing I'm wearing, from down to my lotion and my fragrance, everything is a black artisan created it. Everything.
So going back to your comment of we can't get so excited to be invited to the party, you could have easily received that call and said, Dap, absolutely. I'm there. What do I need to do, or what do I need to wear that aligns with the theme or what you're doing or whatever? Like, it could have been easily that, right? Because the Met Gala is not the invite that you just get on a regular basis. But you knew what? Like you said, your value.
I know my value. And also, I've been there before. Okay.
Okay. How about, geez, excuse me.
I had attended several times before.
Right.
So I was cool on that.
You were cool on that. So had you not made this one, it'd have been like, all right, already been there, did that, I'm good. But you used it as a moment to, again, solidify the fact that there's a tremendous amount of value within you, within our culture, that you wanted to ensure was not a missed opportunity because of an excitement for being invited to a party. And to be honest, it's a party that we kind of made happen because we're the music that's playing within it.
Okay. Yeah.
Listen, and it's almost a party that we could say we're not going to attend because we're going to create our own. Because we'd like to have our music played at our own party.
Yeah.
Which I kind of feel like is where we need to kind of start moving to.
Well, I think that we're doing that in many different ways. There's a people's ball that happens the night before the Met Gala. It happens at the Brooklyn Museum. It's literally called the People's Ball. And that's a really great thing. And it's very inclusive and very diverse. Then,
Nice.
Of course, it's Miss Tina's Waco, with the Waco Theater, Miss Tina and Mr. Richard Lawson. They have their ball, their Wearable Arts Ball.
Nice.
Which is very much in keeping in the tradition of a Met Gala of sorts. So I think that we are doing those things. You know, Aurora has her 15% pledge gala that she hosts as well.
That's awesome.
You know, so we're doing those things. We are doing those things. I mean, I think that, you know what, it takes a long time to become unimpressed by what has always moved the needle culturally. Even if it never included you.
That's right.
Even if it wasn't for you.
Fair.
It takes some time for the patina to wear off and for us to be like, okay.
Fair.
I don't knock people for wanting to go. I'm like, oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Go. Let me know if you really enjoy yourself.
Right. So with that, what's your thoughts on the state of fashion culture today?
Okay, now I'm going to upset you, and I might upset you.
You're not going to upset me unless you're not going to tell the truth, which I know that's not going to happen. So you're definitely,
that's not gonna happen.
Boom.
I think, okay, another old school example. When I went back to Vibe as a fashion editor at large, I'll never forget, a Japanese brand came to meet with me, and they wanted their clothing to be to be used in photo shoots at Vibe. So I met with them. And when I looked at the stuff, I said, this looks like Dickies. It looks like a work uniform. And I said, but it's marked up, 50%.
Significantly.
Yes, significantly. And I said, I can't, with any good moral standing, promote something like this that is literally, so you're literally taking West Coast style, which, they wear the Dickies.
Mm-hmm.
So you're taking West Coast style, and now you want to take it, put a label on it, regurgitate it, and sell it back to them for a very high price. I said, no, I'm not going to be a part of you. I'm not going to be a part of promoting that. So I think a lot of what we're seeing now, especially, I'm disappointed in a lot of designer brands. I'm disappointed in a $1,000 sweatshirt. I think it's laziness. I think it's lazy. And I think that it's Emperor's New Clothes shenanigans. Remember the Empress walking down the street and everyone's like, oh, you look amazing. He's like peacocking. It turns out he was totally naked.
How about that?
You know what I mean? But there was nothing to it. He didn't even have on anything. And I feel like that's what's going on now with fashion. I feel like, why are we buying a pair of sneakers that look distressed for $1,500?
Listen, that we would never even wear had we did that to our own shoes that we paid $100 or $60 for.
Make it make sense. So it's a lot of shenanigans. As I like to say, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a scam.
It's a scam. So what's the responsibility on consumers then to ensure that right?
Well, here's the thing. Quality. So if I'm gonna, I'll give you a brand that I love. This is something I always say. If I met a guy and he was a Dockers and a khakis kind of, like a Dockers and a Rockport shoe kind of guy, right? So a basic kind of dude, right?
Yep.
But he gets with me, and he makes good money, by the way. He gets with me. I don't want to change you, but I want to make sure that you have the best Dockers and Rockports you can possibly have. So we're going to go to Bruno Cucinelli. So it's going to be, when we touch your Docker, it's going to be some kind of insanely brushed, Pima cotton. Your Rockport shoes are going to be transported into some kind of amazing, Cordovian leather.
Jeez, hello.
Rare air, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's going to be that.
Yes.
So you're going to
Be a thing.
right? You're going to still look basic, but you're going to feel luxe.
Okay. You just painted an amazing picture. Go ahead, please.
Right. And you can also tell that, right? You can tell when someone's wearing something that it's basic, but very good quality.
Elevated.
Just get back to good quality. That's what I want. Because I don't like it that when you go and buy the $1,000 sweatshirt, it's literally like a sweatshirt that we can get from Fashion Nova. I don't.
That's
like
right.
that.
That's right. That's right.
I think that's so dishonest.
And lazy. You said it. Lazy.
And lazy.
Yep.
And
Wow.
and they're pimping the game, they're pimping the system. And I don't like it. That's not fashion to me.
Right.
Fashion is, we're supposed to be, being innovative, creative,
Pushing the envelope.
pushing the envelope. And that's not that.
Well, it's no secret that many of these, big fashion houses have made a point in, like, I think the last decade to recruit, lead Black creatives to kind of expand their brand growth and overall appeal. How does this make you feel when these houses pull and recruit from our culture? And what does it take for this to be done authentically?
I'm always happy that people get the opportunities, right?
Yep.
And I just want them to have the opportunities and really be given the tools in which to make the most out of it.
And be successful.
And to be successful. Again, I will say, it's not enough for them to give us a job. They have to give us the tools
to do the job really well. Listen, you said I've been in situations. Listen.
Right. And I think anyone that's listening to us who's worked in corporate America, who's a person of color, has probably had this happen to them, where you get the gig, but then they tie your hands because they don't give you the budget. They don't give you the resources that are needed to actually, they tell you what they want you to do, but then they say, oh, and by the way, you don't have a team and your budget is 1/10 of the next man's budget. So good luck, one man band. And oftentimes we as Black people rise to the occasion because we're so used to
We're resilient.
lemons. Yeah,
We're resilient.
we're resilient and we take the lemons and we make the lemonade, but we shouldn't have to do that. And
Facts.
so if we are not so excited to just be invited to the party, these are real pertinent questions that we ask when we're being
Interviewed and
these
recruited
opportunities.
and sought after. Yep.
Yeah. This sounds great. This sounds great. So what's the budget? What's going to be the operating budget? What's my team look like? Am I going to be able to select members on my team? Or do I just inherit a bunch of people? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we have to ask those questions.
1000%.
Instead of just being like, so I got the SVP at ... And then our friends call us for an opportunity that they're well suited for, but we like, oh, boo-boo, I can't hire you. I ain't got no budget. How many times does that happen?
Please continue. This is almost PTSD right now.
Right, of course it is. But I think that's the case for any Black person, especially from a certain era, from a certain age. And I think things are changing. I think that a lot of the young Black executives I see now, but one, they're not having it.
Right.
I see the young Black executives now, they are like getting these opportunities and they're staying there for like maybe 5 years in the corporate zone. And then they're like striking out on their own and creating moments.
That's right.
The woman who created CultureCon was my
Yes.
junior publicist at Fashion Queens.
Wow.
She created
beautiful.
CultureCon. I'm sorry, excuse you, ma'am. That's baller.
It is. It is. And
She wasn't trying to become the executive vice president of publicity at
That's right.
NBC Universal. She's like, yeah, I've learned a lot from you guys. I'm going to create CultureCon that I own. And we weren't thinking like that.
That's right. I love that new train of thought for this next generation, because you're right. We were programmed to go to college, 4 years, get you a good job, stay there for 25, get your retirement, your pension and all that, and just be. But this generation is one of, no, we can create what it is we want it to be, which is awesome. And I think it talks about the importance of betting on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the doors that open up for you on your journey with that. What would you say is the biggest leap of faith you've ever taken based off of that? Because you've bet on yourself. I mean, I've seen you bet on yourself in numerous occasions, and you're just a continuing walking example of that. What was the biggest leap of faith, though, that you've ever taken within that regard?
Can I tell you the latest leap of faith? Because I think they're all pretty big. I think my latest leap of faith was when Page Six TV got canceled in 2019, and I told my agent I was not interested in going out for any more pop culture TV shows. I said I wanna pursue acting. That was a big leap of faith. That's kind of crazy because I had worked. So I quit at 38, 2019. I'm 56 now, so 2019, how old am I? What, that was 3 years ago?
Right.
Years ago. I'm like 53 or something, 53, 52, yeah, something like that. And I'm like, yeah, I know this pays me a lot of money and I worked really long and hard to get to this space.
Yes.
But I'm moving on. Don't you worry about trying to get me on The View or The Real or The Talk or any other new pop culture show that's going to come up. Don't put my name in for the dish. I don't want to do that. That was bonkers.
Right. Well, seemingly to the human eye.
Yeah, pretty crazy still to me. But I know me. I trust me, my intuition.
You trust God's plan for you because He's shown you. Yep.
Time and again.
Yep. There you go. There you
that
go.
He got me in the palm of His hand. So I can say that. I can say that, and I can like move on and like not pursue that, and that's great. then of course, the show ends September 2019, and then we go into a global pandemic on March of 2020. So that kind of derailed a couple.
Right, right. But already, because I believe, aren't you already on a show?
Yes, I am. I auditioned for Harlem, which is on Amazon Prime. I auditioned for that show 2 days before the world closed down, Friday, March
Shh.
13th. I
Look at
auditioned
God.
for that.
Look at God. And what happens? It then comes to fruition, and already he's now showing you this next chapter based off of this leap of faith that you took, and now that's already coming to fruition.
Yeah.
Jeez. So you, before all of this, you've held so many, prestigious and high pressure jobs, throughout your career. And still, I mean, these still are jobs that are high, pressure roles in acting and hosting. What allows you though to never kind of lose your voice and your vision or your self-belief in these systems? Because now the systems don't go away. They're just different systems, right? Corporate, entertainment industry, yada, yada, that often pressure people to conform and fall in line.
Oh, well, I've been making money off of being Bevy Smith at this point
Mm,
for 18 years.
mm,
So yeah, I'm not gonna turn back. I just did this talk on IG Live, and I never save those things. I just like to have them in the world and I
yeah,
snatch them back. I don't
yeah.
save them most times. But I was talking about the fact that right now authenticity is a buzzword, and it's the new hustle. It's the new hustle. And I want people to understand that if you're talking about authenticity and you're speaking about it only in the context to how you can make money, then you're not being authentic. Because you mentioned organic, and that's another phrase for authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not as overused. It's interesting because organic was the one that was the buzzword. Now it's authenticity. So
Right.
now I might roll it back to old school and make it organic again because
That's right.
authenticity is being overused, it's oversaturated, and people
Yeah.
are misusing the term. Because you cannot be authentic if you're sitting up planning how you're going to be authentic. Okay, that's
Mhm.
not how authenticity works. Authenticity works in that you can't help it. It's like
It's just, it is what it is.
it is what it is. You show up in your most
As you,
authentic self. That's it.
listen, and you are literally a walking example of this. Because again, I go back to our days of first meeting, and you never strayed from embracing every bit of you. Bold, curvy, all the things. It didn't matter. You were showing up as you. And that's why when I think of authenticity, though, I do think it's something that's very quintessential to your identity, like for you, whether it's watered down, all over the place, whatever. Authenticity is damn near your middle name, right? But yet, I think many people still struggle with being their most authentic selves in environments. And so, how can we, I say, all do a better job of ensuring that no matter what room we walk into, we have a responsibility to be our authentic self? And I'm asking you because when I tell you you've exemplified that from day one, it wasn't like I saw something happen to you and then you switched up and was like, no, I'm just going to embrace all of me. Like it was embracing all of you. Heels, tight dresses, bold, beautiful makeup, jewelry, all the beautiful things. What is that thing that other people can take from that, Bevy, to be their authentic selves in every room they go in?
Well, in my book, Revelations, the lessons from my mother, Auntie Bestie,
Great plug. Great plug.
thank you.
Well done.
I talk about the red soul proposition. And the red soul proposition.
Okay.
And the red soul proposition is something that I created around Louboutin. And I'll make it really quick. So once upon a time, the issue was Manola Blahnik. And then Louboutin comes along and usurps Manola Blahnik. Now, why? Well, because of the red soul. So
Mm.
now I ask in my book for you to try and identify your red soul. What is your red soul? And how you do that is by asking yourself 3 questions. Who am I at my core? I don't want to hear about your family. I don't want to hear about your job. I want to hear about who are you at your core. At my core, I'm Little Brown Bevy. I'm adventurous. I'm curious. I'm empathetic. That's who I am at my core. So now we've got my core tenets, my little core little recipe.
Mm-hmm.
How am I being perceived? Esther, you do not remember this. But one of our first conversations at Vibe, once you got there and once we really started working together, you would see me in the meetings and stuff, and you saw the way I handled myself. You came into my office because Esther, you guys have got to know Esther in real life. He's dreamy. And he's funny as heck, even when he's not trying to be. Let me ask you something. And he proceeds to tell me they had seen me out and about in the world prior to knowing me at Vibe. And he thought I was just a chick, a hustler chick who got.
That's right. That's right.
And I said to Esther, well, you weren't wrong. I was that. But at the same time, simultaneously, I was going to NYU and I had a career as an advertising professional. The entire time I'm at the tunnel and I'm hanging out with Puff and Big and Pac and everybody, and Jay and all the people, I'm also NYU at an advertising agency, learning my craft.
Mm.
So how are you being perceived? So, Asa perceived me as a party girl. And so on the other hand, some people perceive me as bougie. I always tell people the answer's somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a party girl, and I'm also.
That's right.
Bougie
That's right.
at the
That's
same
right.
damn time. So
At the same damn time.
At the same time. So we have how I'm being perceived. I was also being perceived at Vibe at a certain point where the rubber was hitting the road when I was ready to satisfy. I was being perceived as a bitch.
Mm.
Not so happy with that perception. So then it leads us to how would you like to be perceived? And I had to ask myself that question. And it wasn't to be a people pleaser, but it was definitely like, now wait a minute. I don't like this idea that people think that I'm a bitch and that I'm like heartless and I like only about the bottom line and all of that. So I take all of those answers and then I figure out how to present myself in the world so that none of these gifts are being hidden. So if someone, like people always say, as a matter of fact, Charlemagne, when I was on the Breakfast Club promoting the book, he was like, but why do we care what people think about us? I'm like, well, we don't let it dictate to us what our lives are going to be. But if 10 people that you really love, respect, and trust are like, Bevy, you're a little caustic, Bevy, you're a little blunt, it makes me cry, you hurt my feelings. And like, I was running into that a lot. Do I want to be that person? Or do I want to be like, well, it is what it is. I don't know what to tell them. They too sensitive. That's a defense mechanism in itself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to take a step back and hear what people are saying that you respect. Now, these random people, no, it doesn't matter. So for me, the way I figured out the path that I wanted to go down for my new life was, who am I at my core? How am I being perceived? How would I like to be perceived? And that's been my formula. And so I'm very proud to say that it worked, because that's the reason why the subtitle of my book is Lessons from a Mother, Auntie, Bestie. Because when people watch me on TV, or when they see my TED Talk, or when they, on my radio show, people are like, oh, I feel so connected to you. My gay kids are calling me mother. My youngsters are calling me auntie. People that are my contemporaries, the 40 and up crowd, they feel like bestie. Like, we could go on a vacation together. We could go have cocktails together. We could go cook shenanigans together. And so I've done it. I literally have charted my course, and that's my most authentic self.
Uncompromised.
Uncompromised. But I had to drill down, and I had to ask myself those tough questions. And it couldn't be, how are you being perceived? As fabulous and amazing. And
Right.
that's not doing the work, sweetie.
No, you got to do the work. You got to do the work. And you're such a champion for inspiring people to show up, and I think that's part of the work. And so I'd love to hear from you in 2023. What does showing up mean to you? And what are some of the new ways that Bevy is showing up this year that might feel a little different from years past?
Well, I'll take the first part. I'll take the last part first. So the newest thing for me, the way I show up is with my mom. So I've lived alone. I lived with one person since I left my parents' house. I lived with one person from 22 to 25, and I never lived with another person again. So I've been a solo artist all these years. And then my mom had 2 strokes in August, and I was blessed enough to be able to have her come and live with me.
Mm.
And that means now, it's a big change, but I show up for her.
That's right.
Every morning, I drag myself out of bed, no matter how many cocktails I had the night. Like last night, I was out, had a good time. I went to Mr. Child's and I went to the Temple Bar. You know the thing. I may or may not have had several tequila gimlets. But 8 o'clock, I got to get up and start prepping my mom for her day. I've got to make her smoothie. I've got to let her home health attendant in. Then I've got to make her a breakfast. And the day my mom was like, I said, do you want cream of wheat? She said, mm-mm. I said, Mom, I got to go to work. I got to go to the studio. But what about salmon and grits? She's like, mm-hmm. So then I had to get in there and chop up the green peppers and the onions and the garlic and saute the salmon and then make the
right.
And no instant grits. So showing up looks so different for me now. And I do believe that God has placed my mom in my care in this way because it's teaching me something. And I know something really amazing beyond just how close me and my mom were always close, but we're even closer now. We're best friends and we're roommates. Okay. But I also believe that my being like this with my mom is preparing me for a love relationship.
I love that.
Showing up for someone in a very selfless manner.
Very selfless. I love that. And God's plan is always an amazing plan. And when you look back, you'll see just how amazing of an architect he is. Yeah. Like you could not have planned this out any better. But your spirit and your wisdom is one of, you're looking at all this knowing that, oh, I see you're doing something. What that something is, I don't know what it is, but you're preparing me for something and you're walking in it, which just makes it even more of such a amazing experience because you're open to what's to come and you're sitting in the space of what it is. The time you have with your mother to care for her, know the love that's being poured into her, especially in this time and this chapter of her journey. It's essential that she has a real loving, caring, patient individual caring for her. And you probably couldn't watch somebody else do this to her because they're not going to do it at the level that you are.
No, that my family does. We all work together in tandem. And so that's the big showing up for me. And what does showing up to me mean? Or like, what does that phrase mean? I mean, honestly, you know my core group of friends. You know my son Terrell. You know my bestie Amy, who's also my publicist. You know Nate Billy, who handles my speaking engagements.
All the family.
All family. We show up for each other. And we and by showing up, that means that we understand each other's foibles as well. Like, I already know I wear them out. It's a lot. It's much. I'm very much demanding talent. I am very demanding talent. And I know that. And they know that. But they also know I was demanding talent before I was talent.
Ooh.
So it's not like I'm showing up like
brand new. It's no brand newness. There's no brand newness.
I was doing too much when I was a receptionist. Okay.
This is you. This is your authentic you. And listen, Bevy, we close these sessions out with this question on, because we make the correlation to farming, right? Because individuals like yourself, who I deem as cultivators, you've done such a job of helping to shape the cultures we all live and benefit from and support. And we talk about the seeds that are planted, right? And how these seeds got watered and they became these amazing blossoming things that are way bigger than what any of us could have imagined. And I always ask, what are the 3 seeds that you would leave with the stewards of culture moving forward? And I feel like you've dropped so many. But are there 3 things or seeds that you would say, these are things I think the stewards of culture moving forward should take with them and water them accordingly?
Oh, yes, I have them. Something that's been on my mind for years, and I'm actually going to do a movement around. I'm going to do many movements. I have a long life ahead of me.
Yeah, you do.
And I won't be long for in front of the camera and all this. Probably I'll get out of this part of the game, probably 70 or so.
Okay,
And
I love that.
move into my strict philanthropy and that kind of stuff. So one of the things that I'm going to make a movement is the act of being gracious.
Okay.
Being gracious.
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to take those seeds and I want them to water that accordingly.
Okay.
Act of giving grace and being gracious.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is tenacity. Be tenacious in all that you want to pursue. And don't let anyone steer you away from what you really, truly should be doing. And you know that in your spirit and your heart and your soul. So just be tenacious and be steadfast. That's a kind of a conjoined moment. Tenacity and steadfastness. And then the third thing I would like for people to water is, honestly, the biggest one for me always is daring to dream, which works in conjunction with it gets greater later. Dare to dream, because it does get greater later. And so I have all of these things that I'm going to do. I have goals that I've had since I started kind of believing that I could dream a new world for myself. And they're finally now starting to come to fruition. Also, you're going to see some amazing things moving and happening in my life. By the end of 2023, it's going to be insane. It's going to be a banner year for Bevy. But a lot of these things were ideas that I had when I was trying to figure it out.
That's right.
In my 30s.
That's right. That's right.
These little kernels of ideas that, I've been like a chipmunk.
Yep. That are now manifesting into, again, something way bigger. Put them on your shirt.
Yeah. And something that I want to say that you didn't ask me is I want the world to know this. Shakespeare says all the world is a stage. And I want to say to your viewers and your listeners that all the world is a vision board. So be intentional with the way you speak, especially when you have platforms. And be intentional about saying what it is that you want versus what you don't want when you have a platform. I was on the Tamron Hall show at the top of the year. I was her first show of the year. And Tamron said, "What's next for Bevy Smith?" I said, "I don't know. But I'm looking forward to all of it. Because I don't have to worry about what's next."
That's right.
I don't have to worry about what's next. Because all these amazing things keep coming to me.
That's right.
So I'm gonna live in that. So I said that on national TV at the top of 2023. And I'm having a banner year thus far. Knock on the wood. But that's because I used the Tamron Hall show as a vision board.
That's right.
I really did.
I love that.
But you can use the conversation with your girlfriend as a vision board. You can use your Instagram account as a vision board. We actually saw that fabulous Twitter campaign that we saw where the people, they found tweets from Matthew Cherry about how he was going to win an Oscar, and then he went and won an Oscar for Hair Tales. Or, Issa Rae saying that she wanted to have a show on HBO and they
power of your words. The power of your words. The power of your words.
So write it down, say it aloud, make it plain, and remember your words have power.
I can't. you know, thanking you is way less than what I really would hope to do by saying you exemplify all the things that you just said, and you've been a constant beacon of opportunity, of light, of excellence, friendship, passion, all the things. And I just ask, don't even need to, that you just continue to be you, because being you is helping so many other people be themselves. And for that, I thank you and love you so dearly. I mean, so dearly.
I love you and I thank you so dearly. And I can't wait to actually spend quality time with you. So you must
Yeah.
come to New York and let me sit with you for several hours.
I look forward to it. And done.
And
Done.
can I just tell the people this really quick. Aster needs to, you need to do this. You and Mo need to take this on the road. You need to do this as a live show because
This,
people need to be with you. They need to be with you. They need to touch you, Aster. Because the after party, the after set, when you're going to have to pay an up fee to actually do the private meet and greet with Aster. Because
listen, you just use this as the vision board, and you've put that energy in the universe that I'm receiving, and I'm doubling down on and embracing every second of it. Yes, yes, and yes. I love you.
I love you more.
We truly appreciate your support because it helps us fulfill our mission of promoting cultural awareness and personal development. Please click the subscribe button below to help ensure and solidify our mission.